All right, now we're live. I didn't hit the right button. My apologies. So let's get started in just a second. All right, that's the issue. All right. Okay, perfect. We are good to go. Very good. All right. I didn't hit the go live button here, so that's why the delay. All right. Let's get started. Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, the 13th of November. This is our Set the Market morning show. Let's get started. I have these two charts here on the screen. These are two live 5-minute charts of the S&P 500 E-mini futures contract on the left. On the right is the NASDAQ 100 equivalent. And what I'm watching here, what I'm doing is 20 minutes ago or 25 minutes ago at this point, we got overbought signals in both of those futures contracts right after the GDP number. And so what our indicator does, it tells us when something is extremely overbought or oversold. So if you have the vertical expo indicator, please use it. It's seriously an awesome tool. This one here is just a live example of it working, so I thought I'd quickly share this with you. All right. Top 3 things, what are we going to talk about? So I got my notes. First of all, I want to look at Honeywell. There's a couple things to discuss there, I think very interesting. Then we're going to look at Spotify, which this morning, at least earlier when I was checking, was up about 8% pre-market. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. And then we can look at gold and silver quickly as well. So let's start off with Honeywell. Why is this important? Why are we watching this? The situation with Honeywell is such that this is a company that received an alert yesterday that an activist investor, Elliott Management, excuse me, and a brain fart there, took a large position in the stock, and they are pushing for change, essentially, is what they're going to do. Elliott Management, a lot of times, gets what they want, and ultimately this should be favorable for stockholders, meaning, i.e., the stock would then presume to go higher. Since that news release yesterday that we now have an activist investor, Honeywell has rallied. In fact, now for the week, it's up 6.5%. Mostly, I think that was yesterday's move. Let me just double check. That's probably all of yesterday. Oh, actually, no. So this has already been moving up for yesterday. Yeah, 3 and then 3. Yeah, so that's basically, no, it's actually 2 days, a 2-day move. So that's actually pretty good. So why does it matter? Well, what's interesting is they're basically asking for, Elliott Management is pushing for change in the company, and they're essentially arguing that they would unlock more value if they separate I believe the automation unit part of Honeywell with I forgot what the other part is. Something, airspace or something, whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is they're going to look to unlock value. And so if I then take that and I very simply just pull up a chart and I go doodling, I can see that this is a company that the stock itself hasn't really done anything on the upside since summer of 2021. And so I can now make an educated guess that given the tailwinds of an activist investor at work, remember, the activist investor is only doing this because they have skin in the game. So they are basically making sure that their stake in the company is going up, meaning they want the stock price to go up. So if you have a big investor like that at the back, as a sort of a tailwind, and then you've got a technical setup, which was what we can see, right? Like I don't have the time or the resources, quite frankly, to go and do Elliott Management work. Like that's a lot of people slaving over that company's every detail. But I can get my head around what they're trying to do, and I'm going to go a bit deeper in it later on this week, what they're really trying to do. And then liking the fact that we have a technical setup where, again, the stock's basically now breaking above a 3-year consolidation phase. And so if I were to then kind of measure how high could this stock ultimately go, you measure that by, and I get to a price that's somewhere close to $300, which also roughly would line up with what LE Management is suggesting. They're suggesting 50 to 75% upside from the time they wrote that. I don't know what level the stock price is at when they wrote that, but so that's one thing. So that's Honeywell. I think that's really interesting. Number one. Number two, Spotify. So Spotify this morning is pre-market trading around $356. So let me bring up the chart. And you can see it's one hell of a move, right? So the stock's essentially gone vertical now for a year and 2 months or so. And now, and this is what I like about it here, now the stock, after all this giant move, now the stock has rallied into the earnings number. That's the key, right? The stock is now rallied into the earnings number. Now, we could argue, there's maybe deregulation, and that's the stock went up after the election. I don't know. But the stock is, over the past few days, up 10% into the earnings report. This morning, the stock is set to open at, about 456. So in 20 minutes or so, it's set to open around around up here. Okay? So that basically makes a chart that's already steep. I always talk about these steep charts that go vertical, go even more steep. So from steep to vertical. And I really like the idea of putting on an options bear call spread on this. It's one of the first things I'm looking to do this morning once we have some liquidity in the stock, maybe 15 minutes or so into it. So that's one thing I'm looking at. I'm not looking to short the stock. That's not at all the point. I just think when I see a stock having rallied this much, rallied into earnings, again, that's the key, after having rallied for a whole year, rallies into earnings and then gaps up higher again, to me, that's a great recipe to set up for a consolidation trade. So that's the second thing is Honeywell. And then the third thing I want to point out quickly is just where we're at with gold and silver. So one of the things that to some extent bothered me, if I can even say that, over the course of at least since the summer, is that gold just hasn't seemed interested in any pullback of like anything more than a couple percent. And so I've been being quite vocal about this. I've been saying that at some point that day will come and gold will correct. Not because the rally's over, but because people are looking to take profits or move elsewhere, with some of their money, that kind of stuff, which is normal. And so now we're in a situation where the GLD ETF, which I'm using as a proxy here, is off about 6%. I'd love to see that, a full 9 or 10%. But we're certainly, and this is a little bit silly to say, but still, we're closer to a buying point than we were. Obviously, has better reward to risk from my perspective than we were, a week ago. Again, that seems like a dumb thing to say because price is lower, but also the underlying story hasn't changed. So I'm waiting. I'm sitting on my pile of gold that I've owned for now a year or 15 months, I think, excuse me. And so I'm not changing that. The only thing that I like to do when I'm in a trade like this for a longer term, I will start to use leverage when I see an entry point from a trading perspective, meaning options basically, or in this case even futures, because gold obviously has a futures market. So that's what I'm looking for here. I'm not really gung-ho about buying any right now, but again, I think I would like to before long. Lastly, let's quickly finish off where we started off 10 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago, and that's with the overbought signals from the Vertical X Pro about 25 minutes ago that I shared with you guys, a few minutes ago. It continues to work. It got overbought, and the trade usually then is to either short the futures or if buy puts or whatever one wants to do, right? So that continues to work. So if anyone of you guys took that trade, well done. That's how you take advantage of near-term gyrations of extreme overbought and oversold, and just thought that would show you that. If you don't have the indicator, you can just email support@thesteadytrader.com. So that is it, short and sweet, 10 minutes today, a little bit, maybe a couple minutes shorter than usual, but I hope that was helpful for you guys. Again, if you are new, this is our Set the Market morning show. We've been doing it now for a few months, and I really enjoyed it. I know our followers like to enjoy it. What I would encourage everyone to do is please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, because as I say every morning, it allows you to get alerted in real time when we do these live market updates, when we have new podcasts and so on and so forth right here on YouTube, and it allows us to be able to continue to do these Set the Market morning shows. So thanks for listening, folks. Have a great trading day, and if you are an Inner Circle member, we'll see you guys in the chat room here shortly. I think there might be a gap trade to do this morning. See you there.